Have you ever thought about the power of criticism? It can either be like a storm, tearing everything down, or like a strong wind, pushing you forward. Imagine transforming every negative word into a driving force to reach your goals. Have you ever felt discouraged by something someone said? What if I told you those words could be the key to your success? Think about the last time someone criticized you. How did you react? Now, imagine using that energy to your advantage. Instead of letting it bring you down, you can become stronger and more resilient. Life is full of challenges, and every criticism is a disguised opportunity. Are you ready to open your eyes to that? In this video, we'll explore how Stoic lessons can help you shape your mindset and turn criticism into fuel. Each lesson is a powerful tool you can use on your journey. Get ready for a new perspective that could change the way you see the world. And remember, transformation starts within you. What will you do with the criticism you receive today? That choice could define your path. Let's go on this journey together. Before we begin, don't forget to like our content, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to subscribe now. Lesson 1. Accepting criticism. Accepting criticism isn't easy, at least not for most of us. Whenever someone points out something that could be done differently, it's natural to feel a bit defensive. But over time, I've realized that criticism is an inevitable part of life, and learning to embrace it is essential for personal growth. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, I've started to see these opinions as learning opportunities. When someone criticizes something I've done, I try to remember that this person is, in a way, investing time and energy to help me improve. One key to this acceptance is emotional detachment. Often, criticism hits sensitive spots, but if we can separate the critique from our identity, it makes the process easier. I'm not any less competent or valuable because of negative feedback. Instead, I see it as a sign that I still have room to grow. This mindset shift has allowed me to accept criticism more calmly, and as a result, evolve as a person. Moreover, accepting criticism doesn't mean I have to agree with everything that's said. Sometimes, the criticism can be unfounded or even malicious. However, the real challenge lies in discerning what's useful and what's not. And for that, you need to be open to dialogue and reflection. When someone criticizes me, I try to understand the intention behind the words. This not only helps me accept criticism better, but also teaches me to be more critical of the feedback I receive. Over time, I've noticed that accepting criticism has become a more natural habit. Instead of feeling threatened, I start to ask myself, what can I learn from this? This perspective shift has a profound impact on my self-confidence. The more I'm willing to accept and learn from criticism, the more secure I feel in my own decisions and actions. And in this process, I realize that accepting criticism is not just a step toward personal growth, but also a way to strengthen my interpersonal relationships. Finally, accepting criticism turns into a virtuous cycle. When I accept criticism, I learn something new. When I learn something new, I improve. And as a result, I put myself in a better position to handle future criticism. So, each piece of feedback becomes an opportunity for growth. And that, let's face it, is one of the greatest riches we can cultivate in life. Lesson 2. Distinguishing between constructive and destructive criticism. Learning to distinguish between constructive and destructive criticism is a skill I've developed over time. Constructive criticism is the kind that, although difficult to hear, is rooted in positive intentions and offers useful suggestions. On the other hand, destructive criticism often comes with judgments that only serve to demoralize. Recognizing this difference is crucial to ensuring negative feedback doesn't bring us down. When someone gives me constructive criticism, I realize that the intention is to help me improve. Typically, this type of criticism is accompanied by examples and practical suggestions. For instance, if a colleague tells me that my presentation could be clearer, they might suggest using specific graphs or data to illustrate my points. This approach is valuable because it gives me a clear direction on how I can evolve. Destructive criticism, however, often brings nothing but harsh words that, frankly, don't help at all. One way I've found to differentiate these types of criticism is by paying attention to the tone and how the message is delivered. Constructive criticism is usually presented in a respectful and empathetic manner, while destructive criticism tends to be more aggressive and demeaning. This awareness has helped me create a mental filter that not only protects me emotionally, but also allows me to focus on what really matters, learning and improvement. Additionally, when receiving criticism, I try to understand the context in which it was given. Sometimes the person who criticizes may be going through a tough time and ends up venting their frustration on me. It's important not to take everything personally, and instead, ask myself if there's anything of value in the criticism, regardless of its form. This approach has helped me better handle criticism that at first glance might seem purely destructive. In the end, this ability to discern between constructive and destructive criticism has not only helped me grow, but has also made me a more mindful critic. When I need to give feedback to someone, I make sure to be clear and respectful, offering suggestions that can truly help. This healthy exchange of feedback, in turn, creates a more collaborative and productive environment where everyone has the opportunity to learn and grow. Lesson 3. Self-awareness and reflection. Self-awareness is a continuous journey, and for me, reflecting on the criticism I receive is one of the best ways to advance on this path. When someone points out a weakness or suggests an improvement, I see it as an invitation to look within myself. It's easy to get caught up in the routine of daily life and forget to evaluate our own actions and behaviors. However, by using criticism as a mirror, I can see aspects of myself that I might not have been willing to observe. This introspection leads me to a deeper understanding of my weaknesses. For example, when I receive feedback on my communication skills, I realize that I may not be as clear as I'd like to be. This realization not only helps me identify an area for improvement, but also motivates me to find ways to enhance this skill. Self-awareness, therefore, is not just a critical analysis, but an active step toward growth. Reflecting on criticism also allows me to better understand my emotional triggers. Instead of reacting impulsively, I started asking myself why a particular criticism bothered me so much. This reflection helps me demystify feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, allowing me to approach criticism with a more objective view. What once seemed like an offense now becomes a learning opportunity. Moreover, this practice of continuous reflection provides me with a solid foundation for personal development. Each piece of criticism becomes a small puzzle piece that makes up my identity. By understanding how each piece of feedback relates to my past experiences and future goals, I'm able to chart a clearer path to where I want to go. This clarity is essential to stay focused on the goals that really matter. Finally, this quest for self-awareness through reflection not only makes me a more conscious person, but also more compassionate. By understanding my own weaknesses, I become more open to accepting the imperfections of others. This creates a cycle of empathy and understanding that benefits not only me, but also the relationships I build around me. Reflection thus becomes a powerful tool, not only for personal growth, but also for building a healthier and more welcoming environment. Lesson 4. Practicing resilience. Developing resilience is a crucial skill, especially when it comes to dealing with criticism. Life is full of ups and downs, and knowing how to bounce back quickly from adversity is key to staying focused on your goals. When I receive criticism, instead of letting it get me down, I make a conscious effort to get up and keep moving forward. This practice of resilience not only allows me to overcome challenges, but also learn from them. One strategy I've used to strengthen my resilience is visualization. Whenever I face criticism or a setback, I imagine myself overcoming the situation. I visualize the feeling of success after learning and overcoming. This technique not only helps me deal with the pain of the moment, but also motivates me to act. By seeing a way out, I feel more in control of the situation, and thus, criticism becomes a starting point for growth. Another important aspect of resilience is social support. I've learned that sharing my experiences, including the criticisms, with friends and family can be extremely beneficial. They offer a different perspective and often remind me that everyone faces difficulties. With their support, I can see criticism in a new light and feel more encouraged to keep moving forward. Additionally, practicing resilience involves accepting that failure is part of the learning process. When I view criticism as an opportunity for growth, I start to see each setback as a valuable lesson. This growth mindset turns pain into motivation, allowing me to get up stronger each time. Instead of fearing criticism, I begin to seek it out, knowing that it will help me evolve. Finally, this practice of resilience not only helps me deal with criticism, but also makes me a stronger person overall. With each criticism I overcome, I build a layer of confidence that propels me to face new challenges. Resilience thus becomes a skill that not only benefits me in difficult times, but also prepares me to embrace opportunities that come along the way. Lesson 5. Emotional detachment. You know that moment when you receive criticism and your first reaction is to feel a knot in your stomach? I've been through that countless times. The truth is, emotionally detaching from others' opinions is a skill I've been trying to develop. After all, people have their own experiences and perspectives, and what they think of me doesn't define who I am. It's a process, no doubt, but it's worth it. When I start to see criticism as just an opinion without getting carried away by intense emotions, life becomes lighter. One key to this is understanding that self-esteem shouldn't be based on others' approval. There are days when, even without meaning to, we let others' comments affect us, and that can be devastating. That's why I've learned to practice emotional detachment. When someone criticizes me, I take a deep breath and ask myself, does this opinion really reflect who I am? Almost always the answer is no. This small shift in perspective helps me focus on what really matters, my personal growth. Emotional detachment is also linked to self-confidence. The more I know myself and understand my abilities, the easier it becomes to ignore criticisms that don't make sense. I try to surround myself with people who truly share similar values and who support me. This creates an environment where opinions are more constructive and less destructive. The sense of belonging, when you're with people who genuinely value your potential, is a powerful antidote against the negative influence of criticism. Of course, it's not always easy. Sometimes, even knowing that a criticism has no value, the emotion can be strong. In those moments, I allow myself to feel, but then I seek to reflect on the situation. I ask myself if the criticism has any basis, and if it does, how I can use it to improve. This helps me turn criticism into a learning tool, rather than a weapon that can hurt me. In the end, emotional detachment is a continuous practice. With every criticism I receive, I strive to learn more about myself and what truly matters. It's a daily exercise in self-awareness that gradually shapes my way of dealing with what others think of me. And so I move forward, lighter and more authentic. Lesson 6. Turning pain into motivation. Receiving criticism can be painful, but I've learned that this pain can be a powerful source of motivation. When someone points out something I'd like to improve, instead of letting it bring me down, I try to use that energy to propel myself forward. It's almost like a spark that ignites a fire within me. Instead of feeling defeated, I start to make plans and set goals to evolve. I remember a time when a colleague criticized a project I considered important. At first, I was frustrated, but after some time, I realized he was right. Instead of dwelling on the hurt, I decided to turn that criticism into a growth opportunity. I started diving deeper into the subject, and before long, I not only improved the project but also gained confidence in my abilities. The pain of criticism can be a catalyst for change. When I feel uncomfortable with something someone said, it leads me to reflect on what I really want and where I can improve. This reflection, in turn, motivates me to act. It's a cycle that, although it starts with a blow, ends with empowerment. Instead of feeling defeated, I feel stronger and more prepared to face new challenges. One interesting point is that this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Sometimes it takes time to process the pain and understand how it can be converted into motivation. But with practice, this transformation becomes more automatic. I've learned to see criticism as an opportunity for improvement, rather than a personal attack. This mindset shift has allowed me to grow in ways I never imagined. In the end, pain can be a powerful ally. Instead of letting it bring me down, I always try to find the lesson behind the criticism. This approach has helped me overcome obstacles and become a better version of myself, always in search of growth. Lesson 7. Focusing on the process, not just the outcome. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned in life is the importance of focusing on the process and not just the final result. Often, we get lost in the pursuit of approval and forget to appreciate each step we take toward our goal. This applies especially when we talk about criticism. When I concentrate on the journey, I can see the value in every experience, even those that don't go as planned. Instead of being obsessed with the result, I strive to engage in the learning that comes with each attempt. When I receive criticism, instead of worrying about what it might mean for my image, I ask myself, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? This change in focus helps me demystify criticism and turn it into a growth opportunity. Moreover, when I focus on the process, I'm more open to exploring new approaches and experimenting. This allows me to be more creative and flexible in my actions. The pressure to have a perfect outcome can be paralyzing, but when I value each step, the journey becomes much more rewarding. Learning becomes part of my daily life, and that brings a satisfaction that goes far beyond a positive result. The practice of focusing on the process also helps me better deal with setbacks. If the result doesn't turn out as expected, instead of getting upset, I analyze what I did and how I can improve. This gives me a sense of control and motivates me to keep moving forward. Every criticism becomes an opportunity for reflection, and this creates an environment conducive to my growth. Finally, by valuing the process, I've learned to celebrate small victories. Every step taken, every lesson learned, is a reason for joy. This creates a positive cycle that drives me to keep going, regardless of the criticisms that may arise. Focusing on the journey, not just the destination, makes me a more fulfilled professional and person. Lesson 8. Practicing empathy. When I think of criticism, one of the things that helps me most in dealing with it is empathy. Sometimes criticism comes in a way that seems harsh or even unfair, but if I stop for a moment and try to understand the other person's perspective, everything changes. It's easy to feel attacked and defensive, but when I put myself in the other person's shoes, I realize that often the criticism comes from a place of concern or a desire to help. This makes me want to listen more closely to what's being said. Empathy also allows me to see that everyone has their own experiences and challenges. What may seem like harsh criticism to me may be someone's attempt to express their own frustration or insecurity. By considering the other person's story, I can diffuse the situation and take a more open stance. This perspective shift not only helps me accept feedback, but also enriches my own understanding of what's happening. Moreover, the practice of empathy can turn what seems like an attack into a learning opportunity. When I make an effort to understand the critic's point of view, I may discover aspects of my behavior that I hadn't considered before. This doesn't mean I should accept all criticisms, but it does mean I can filter them more effectively and extract what truly matters. Another important aspect of empathy is that it helps me build healthier relationships. When I show that I'm willing to listen and understand criticism, the other person feels valued, and this, in turn, creates a dialogue. This is especially relevant in work environments where collaboration is essential. Empathy not only smooths tensions, but also promotes a culture of constructive feedback. Finally, empathy is a skill that needs to be cultivated. It's not something that comes naturally to everyone and requires practice and patience. By striving to understand criticism more deeply, I not only develop my ability to accept feedback, but also enhance my ability to connect with others. And this connection is what ultimately makes the process of receiving criticism much lighter and more productive. Lesson 9. Mindset transformation. Transforming my mindset has been a fascinating journey. Over time, I've realized that how I approach challenges and criticism can make a huge difference in my life. Instead of seeing criticism as a threat, I'm learning to see it as an opportunity. This mindset shift is what many call a Stoic mindset, which teaches us to accept what we cannot control and focus on what we can change. When I adopt this mindset, I begin to see every criticism as a chance for growth. This doesn't mean it's easy, of course. Sometimes words hurt, and it's natural to feel bad. But instead of letting myself get carried away by these emotions, I start to look at criticism objectively. I ask myself, what can I learn from this? This attitude helps me maintain calm and clarity in moments of tension. The Stoic mindset also teaches me to depersonalize criticism. Often when someone criticizes my work or actions, the tendency is to take it personally. However, by remembering that feedback is about my action and not my essence, I can separate my self-worth from what was said. This gives me incredible freedom to experiment and fail, knowing that every mistake is part of the learning process. Adopting this new mindset also has a positive impact on my relationships. When I show that I'm open to criticism and willing to learn, the people around me feel more comfortable giving feedback. This creates an environment of trust and respect, where everyone feels valued. And when everyone is willing to learn together, collaboration flows much more naturally. Finally, with every criticism I receive, I have the opportunity to reinforce this new way of thinking. Over time, I find that each challenge becomes a chance for growth, and that, in itself, is an invaluable reward. Lesson 10. Proactive action. When it comes to criticism, proactive action is one of the most important steps I can take. Receiving feedback is only half the battle. The other half is what I do with that feedback. There's no point in hearing criticism and then setting it aside, hoping it will disappear. The real magic happens when I decide to act based on what was said. This not only shows that I value the other person's opinion, but also that I'm committed to my own growth. One way I've found to be proactive is to create an action plan. After receiving criticism, I take some time to reflect on what was said and how I can apply it to my life. Sometimes this involves small changes in my behavior or approach to certain situations. Other times it may mean seeking more knowledge or skills that will help me improve. In both cases, the important thing is that I'm taking concrete steps. Another strategy I use is to break down the feedback into manageable parts. When a criticism is broad and seems overwhelming, it can be easy to feel paralyzed. By breaking the feedback into smaller, more specific topics, I can focus on one area at a time. This not only makes the process less intimidating, but also allows me to celebrate small victories along the way. Additionally, proactive action also helps me build confidence in myself. Every time I implement a change based on criticism, I feel like I'm moving forward. This sense of progress is powerful and motivates me to keep seeking improvement. Over time, this becomes a positive cycle. The more I act, the more confident I become, and the more open I am to receiving criticism. Lastly, being proactive about criticism isn't just about personal growth. It's also a way to inspire those around me. When people see that I'm willing to listen and act, they feel encouraged to do the same. This creates an environment where evolution and mutual feedback become the norm, not the exception. And this is undoubtedly one of the best ways to cultivate a space for continuous learning and development. So, have you ever stopped to think about how criticism can be a powerful growth tool? Look, it's not easy dealing with other people's opinions, but as we've learned from the Stoics, every criticism is a disguised opportunity. Imagine turning every negative word into another step toward your success. Remember, true strength lies in how we respond to adversity. What do you do when someone points out your mistakes? Do you let it bring you down, or do you use it to improve? Think about it. And what if you allowed yourself to see criticism not as an attack, but as an invitation to evolve? Throughout this video, we've discussed 10 valuable lessons that can change your perspective. Now I want to know from you, which of these lessons resonated most with your experience? And how can you apply them in your life? If you watched until the end, write in the comments, "Success." So I know who made it this far. Let's go on this journey of self-knowledge and overcoming together. Don't forget to subscribe to the Millennial Stoicism channel, leave your comment, and share your own experiences. So, who's ready to turn criticism into fuel for success? The path is challenging, but the reward is incredible. Let's go. Thank you for watching.